Okay, it's Friday morning, and against all medical advice and probably breaking the law as well, we have Pat McArt all the way from Donegal, which has been
Morning, Jude.
Is it where? Is that correct?
We're on lockdown or down lock. I'm not quite sure.
You're not allowed
It's unbelievable.
to Donegal. I saw that in the newspapers this morning that they were saying nobody would be allowed to leave Donegal. And I thought, why would anybody want to leave Donegal?
Exactly, Jude. I couldn't agree more. And when are you joining board, Fudge? Jude, let me tell you something. Because I knew this was coming up this morning. I just looked up something because I am a former cross-border worker. My wife is a former cross-border worker. And, right, 177,000 lorries cross the border every month. 208,000 vans cross every month. Nearly 2 million cars cross every month. And 30,000 people daily cross into Northern Ireland. And I don't know whether that includes coming, but every day, 30,000 people from the Republic apparently go to Northern Ireland. That's as far as I can figure out.
Yeah.
Now, when you consider how are they going to contact trace? How are they going to? By the way, there's two rules as far as I can figure out. There's the British rules for this COVID thing, and there's Irish rules. So, and I'll drop it after this. You know, for years, or not for years, since this COVID thing started,
it seems like years, Pat.
It seems like years. You got it in one. But there were people coming in from Dublin, and you had to go through a certain criteria. Self-isolate for 14 days and give details and all the rest. That was the front door. The back door was if you're coming from London and you decide I'm not going to, I'll fly into Belfast, hire a car and go to Donegal and all that. Now, that is the sort of situation that having a partitioned Ireland has caused. And Donegal has easily, and I mean easily, the highest number on the island of Ireland. And I think part of it, no, not totally, there's also a lot of carelessness and a lot of people around here as well. But put all those things together.
Yeah. Well, the cross-border thing, Pat, is very familiar to me because I remember when I was in St. Columns and when I left it, I knew that young guys would go for dances, they go to the borderland, across the border. And if for drinking, they would go to the Squealing Pig or whatever it was across the border. So that notion of social life being totally integrated with the hinterland of Donegal, that was a natural thing. So it really seems to be absurd. Actually, I saw where the Minister for Health in the north, Swan, and whoever's the Minister for Health in the south were going to have a meeting today, or they're going to have a virtual meeting. I mean, I just thought, they're not meeting on a daily basis. I mean, the thing should be seamless by this time. This damn thing has been raging forever. I just can't hardly believe that. How has this affected you? The restrictions imposed today, I think, or is it this evening?
From midnight last night, Jude.
Okay. How will that affect you, or will it affect you personally, Pat?
Well, of course it will. But look, can you imagine this morning, if your father or your mother or your brother or your sister or your child, God bless anybody that dies. Now there's going to be all sorts of restrictions on funerals. I think it's no more than 25 people. So if you're burying your brother, yesterday it was almost all right. Tomorrow it certainly isn't. Can you imagine a wedding? I'd say there's a hotel not too far from me, and I would say the restrictions say no more than 25 at a wedding. So last week you could have, I think, invited maybe 50 to 100, not 100% certain of that. But as from now, you could have sent out those invitations from a month ago. But as from tomorrow, you're going to have to tell, if you invited 100, you're going to have to tell 75 people you're not coming. Can you imagine the uproar in the family that'll cause? There'll be people not speaking to people for the rest of their lives. There was pubs open on Monday. They're closed again. And hey, Jude, if you were in the hospitality sector in Donegal, which a lot of people are, and it's very dependent on your life has gone through hell because you have no money coming in, a lot of bills going out, and it's going to be very, very difficult.
Very difficult. It's not even now like this. What the future prospects? How long will this go on for? I mean, the tourist trade must have just hit the bottom.
But Jude, one thing I have to say, and we were up at looking at we weren't going to buy one. We was doing this motorhome thing, and we were talking to a guy at the side of the road later on, and he's claiming that he's never seen more motorhomes and Donegal and all his life. And I thought about it, the number of motorhomes, and I know I don't know where they're coming from, whether they're local, whether they're in from Britain or Northern Ireland or whatever. But every second or third vehicle this last while on the main roads around here that you go down, it's a motorhome. And I'd say the biggest motorhome seller in, I think, Ireland is based in Letterkenny. You know, I'm sure he did nothing for about 3 months when it was closed down, but he had one hell of a July, August, and September.
Well, so how do you explain that? Do you think it is the people that are saying, well, our chances of flying to somewhere abroad for the foreseeable future is zilch? So
exactly,
go with the motorhome and be able to explore all of Ireland. Is that the idea?
Staycation. There's a friend of mine, a guy. He's a newspaper editor down in the Fannet area. I was talking to him several weeks ago, and he said he has never ever seen more tourists in that Fannet Peninsula. And he says a lot of them are sort of foreigners. So I presume a lot of these guys come into Belfast and hired motorhomes and stuff and came down this way.
Oh, they hired them, yeah.
I presume so. But a lot of other people, I think the sales of them have gone through the roof as well. Staycations, we have friends in Australia, and they've been told there's going to be no international travel to at least 2023. I don't know how true that is.
If you get a motorhome, my son's father-in-law, who recently has died, but him and his wife used to use their motorhome from England. They go across either through the tunnel or well, I guess through the tunnel, they drive into France, and then they would go down all the way to Portugal every year. So we tend to think of, I tend to think of motorhomes as connected with going to places in Ireland, but they don't have to do that way at all. You know, you've got all. If you're comfortable with that, I think I would have been comfortable with that. I'm not sure my wife would have been comfortable with the motorhome, but I like the flexibility of it, I must say. And my son's late father-in-law, he swore by it. He said it was so terrific. You'd go to the places where people had been the previous year, and you knew old acquaintances. And if the weather was bad or you were bored, you would just pick up and go. You know.
But Jude, you know the reality of it. See in Donegal, in the Liffordstown Northern area, there's 336 cases per 100,000. The country rate is 148. I just wrote this down as well. But we are now, Donegal is almost double the rate in Dublin, which that rate was, so that's how dangerous it is in Donegal. Now, the odd thing is, North Inishowen, which got badly hit the first time round, is relatively good. So, but the other thing is, Jude, and there's a bit of dishonesty as far as I was talking to a teacher in the sort of south of the county there earlier this week, and apparently it is in schools, but the principals or whatever are not, so. And there's a doctor who was on there earlier on Highland Radio. See this thing about contact tracing in Donegal? Forget it. Yeah. I could talk to you and you've got it, and I walk off, and nobody knows whether I've been talking to you or vice versa. Yeah. The contact tracing is ridiculous. But the other thing is, there's no enforcement. How can you contact trace somebody in Northern Ireland if you're in the south? Like there's no follow-up.
They couldn't do it. In fact, they're depending on the goodwill, sensible conduct, I think, of the public. Yeah. Now, whether that'll apply in all cases or not, I don't know.
Right. But you'd look at the other thing as well. You were mentioning it earlier on. Life here, the nearest big supermarket for me and my wife is in Derry, which is about 5 minutes away. We were in Derry twice yesterday. So now when I get as far as the border, which is about 3-4 miles away, will there be guardians sitting there saying, sorry, sir, you have to turn around?
Oh,
that's the reality.
The advice is you're not supposed to leave Donegal.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you expect it, if it stays at level 3, I think it is, do you expect that to seriously inconvenience you?
No, Jude, you can get around everything. It's not going to kill me or anything like that. Jeepers, I'll be very careful of language like that. But no, there are other alternatives. But yeah, it's going to be, Jude, it's a restriction in your life. It's been a bit like being in solitary confinement. You can live with it, but it's not what you choose.
Yeah. Tough. Anyway, let's move on to one of the other topics that we thought about discussing. And this is something you see in the papers every day, are letters to the editor. I always thought that was a very cheap way for editors to fill part of half a page of their paper. Didn't cost them a red cent. And people were competing for getting their their letters in. What was your experience of it in the Derry Journal, Pat?
Jude, this is a fact. There's a certain guy, I'll not name him, he's dead now, but it doesn't matter, his family's still alive. He used to write a letter to the journal, and he could bet your life it would start a row. So the following week, we'd have 10 more letters. You're dead, right? I can't remember. One time, somebody wrote on a letter about all these southerners coming up to Derry and driving like bogmen and all that sort of stuff. And I put this letter on, and I did for about a month. It was vitriol. And we used to fill 2 pages until the proprietor says to me one day, he said, "Hey, Pat and Wisman, I don't understand what you're at, but he says, you're nearly causing this sort of sectarian violence here." So we but it was great fun. But see, Jude, apparently the claim was, I don't know, it wasn't scientific or anything like that, but it was claimed that every letter in the local paper was basically representative of about 10,000 people. Basically what they said, the person who took the pen was probably representing the views of the 9,999 who didn't write in but who thought the same.
Really?
Yeah, that was, now Jude is, what would you say, it's anecdotal or whatever, there's no scientific background, but I often thought that there was an element of truth in that.
Well, they certainly, they always say, whatever you're feeling most deeply, if you chat to other people, you'll probably find a lot of them feel the same way. But
exactly.
Would you have rejected many letters?
Yeah, there's some. Hey, well, there's a whole lot of things.
Usual, would it because they were dull or because they were libelous?
A mixture of both. If somebody's made the point, and then another person repeats it, and another person repeats it, there's no point in putting that letter in. You see if it's on the one subject. I remember one time there was someone in the journal about a meeting will be held to discuss contraception and other women's issues, and Jesus, what do you call it? I got a letter, saying how the former editors of the journal would be turning in their graves and whatever, that the journal was promoting all this, And I remember then we got a whole host of letters saying how bigoted was that person and all the rest. So, Jude, but there's no point in putting every one on the same. You put in a couple to represent what the views and drop it. But by and large, by the way, some people think when they write a letter that there's no such thing as the law of libel. The law of libel applies to letters as much as any article. In fact, Jude, I got badly caught one time many, many years ago. Somebody wrote a letter, not even going to details now because their family's still alive, and I didn't realize that there was a mention of for the family in the middle of it, or that they could be identified in a letter. And I got into a lot of legal bother many, many years ago. Yeah. But I didn't cop on to, see, letters can actually be lethal.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, it's not just the person who wrote it could be liable. The newspaper could be liable.
Okay, well, the newspaper primarily. In fact, the law of libel, rarely now there's anybody sued for personal libel. It's the publication of it sued and the publisher.
So you need to be very careful. I must say, have you ever written to the? Have you ever written a letter to yourself? No. Have you ever written a letter to the editor?
Hey, Jude, I broke my rule I have a self-imposed rule not to write letters to the editor, but I broke it this week. I wrote a letter to the editor of the Sunday Independent because I sat down, and I'll tell you exactly why I wrote it. The unquiet graves thing.
Oh, yeah.
I sat and watched it, and I said, wait a minute, 122 people killed, and I listened to RT the following morning after the programme went out. Not a mention of it. And I said, I had a wee bet with myself. I said, wonder will the Sunday Independent. I have stopped buying the Sunday Independent years ago, but I obtained a copy on Monday, and I went through it. Not a word. Now, the president's dog got a mention. You can go through, that died. It got a mention. But here was 122 people dead, or 128 possibly dead in Northern Ireland, and it was revealed that the people behind this intended to shoot up a school and kill a classroom of kids and their teacher. Now, had that been Republicans, it would never have been nothing. Now, I am not here to bat for Republicans. Everybody presumes that I'm an IRA supporter if you say that. What really gets me is the total dishonesty of the media in the South, particularly, that there's one narrative and another. Look, if you're going to do it, be honest. There was 2 sides here, and there was a lot of stuff. But did you let this thing just go and it really did annoy me. So I said, to hell with it. I broke my own rule of 40 years of not writing to a newspaper.
Yeah, do you think it'll go in?
No.
But you see, that's the thing. If you write something that is critical, in my experience, if you send a letter that's critical of anything connected with the newspaper, like if you're being sharp with one of their columnists, for example,
Yeah.
your chances of getting that printed are virtually nil.
No,
You know, you
no.
must.
I still want the editor to be aware of the fact
Uh,
that there was a major program and it dealt with a major issue, and the facts are not disputed. And it happened on the island of Ireland. The president's dog gets on page 3 of the Sunday Independent, but a program that dealt, and not one of their columnists who just like if Ruth Dudley Edwards, Eilish O'Hanlon, Owen Harris, and all those people, if they didn't have the Sinn Féin passage, they would have blank pages. Yet, and they've been doing it for years.
yeah.
Now, where's the balance? Where's the honesty? Where is the integrity?
Well, Ruth Dudley Edwards, you'll be pleased to know, is well, maybe not, is going to go as a regular columnist with the newsletter. I saw.
Well, that's where she should be. She's not an actor. Jude, can I stop you there, Jude? Can I stop you there? Definition one. She comes on and is almost described as a spokesperson for the Nationalists. She has never been a nationalist. Now, go ahead.
Well, she's writing for the newsletter, but of course she might continue writing for the Independent.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll write for anything. I mean, for anything. Yeah. I must say at the same time there is a peculiar thrill. We talk about new media, you know, but there is a small little thrill in seeing your name in the paper. not the magistrate's court, of course, but the letters to the editor. It's an odd thing, really. And people would say, "Oh, I saw your letter in the paper." You know, and you could be doing a blog every bloody day for years.
But nobody died. But sorry,
but there's
something. No, isn't that the old joke? What do you call a dairyman with a tie? The defendant.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Okay, well let's move to the third because we're done out of time as usual. Electric cars. You were talking about that. Now, I think that's
a person I know had a bad experience.
Yes. Yeah, you're looking at him. Yeah, I think I'll tell you about my own case in a minute, but I think in terms of city driving, electric cars are really very, very good because you're not, all you do is have your car charged and you can run for maybe 100, even 150 miles around the town, and it's very good for that kind of thing. For longer journeys, it's problematic. Now, it's not impossible, but it is problematic. People say, if you've got an electric car, you've got to plan your journey. And I know that in fact, having an electric car, you've got to make sure that you're going to be somewhere near to or have a charging point, a rapid charging point. That'll do it inside, an hour or so en route so you can get back again. Now, the snag with that, one snag is that many of those aren't working when you get there, you see. So you have the difficulty of making sure that you're taking a route that will bring you to a charger as you want to go to the place you're going to.
Yeah. And
secondly, most important, that will be working. So I'm reluctantly being driven to the conclusion that really the electric cars haven't advanced sufficiently far. In fact, I saw an article by Elon Musk where he was saying that it'll be 3 years before they really have proper batteries and prices that people will buy into. Now, he's the guy that's making electric cars.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea, I think, but its day isn't here yet. The other thing,
Jude, there's what I call Professor John Fitzgerald, Garrett Fitzgerald's son. He's the chairperson or chief executive of the ERSI, Economic Research Institute in the Republic. And he was on RTE one day and he was telling he's a big environmentalist and he was going somewhere like Wexford or somewhere. And he told, his electric car, Jude, I wouldn't do what he done. He was going somewhere south Wexford or somewhere. And anyway, halfway down, he discovered, wait a minute, I need to go to get this car, generated up. And he went to, there was a quick charger and a slow charger, but there was 2 people already there. So he waited somewhere like 3 hours while, and then he had to do the same or something very similar on the way back. That's not, no way to, they're not, the electric cars are not nowhere near ready yet. You should be able to plug them in and you should be able to go to Cork and back.
You see, and once you get onto it, people don't realize this, but they'll say, this is going to range of 150. But that's if you do everything to economize, have an economy mode. Once you get onto a motorway and put your foot down to, say, 60 miles, 65 miles an hour, the number of miles you can travel just shrinks immediately. If you put
Yeah.
on your heater, it shrinks. You know,
Yeah.
so there's any number of things that bring the thing down to. The fact of the matter is, I suppose, unreasonable levels. I learned a lesson. I've learned a hard lesson in a way. I thought that the vast, and it's true. My wife is a car too, so I can always fall back on litres of petrol. But I thought I did very little travelling around Belfast. You know, I
Yeah.
would say, what, on an average week, I might do 20, 25 miles. Not so tall. Once you start
Yeah.
counting it up, you find you're doing 50 anyway, 60 maybe.
Yeah.
So you need to calculate very carefully how much you travel. And secondly, you've got to be sure that you don't want to take a trip to somewhere reasonably distant, like Dublin or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
do, it's curtains really.
Yeah.
The other thing is, they're very seductive though. I've been in a Tesla in the States. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. You know, they've got a you know, a screen at the front, and you'd think you're going into the cockpit of a plane.
Yeah.
And this one had gull wings, you know, like the DeLorean cars.
John DeLorean, yeah.
You could see how you could fall in love with them. But I do think indeed that their day isn't as yet come. And as I say, I learned that the hard way yesterday.
Yeah.
Stuck. But anyway, I'll draw a veil over that part.
I'll draw a veil over that incident, yes.
Okay, well, we leave it there, Pat.
Okay, Jude. Catch you later.
Thank you.
Bye. Good luck. Bye.